What's up guys, it's Jamie. I'm a former Hollywood insider with over 10 years experience in Hollywood, and I have to give credit to ELS Rich. If you are not following her, you should follow her. She's great. She just did an interview with Kirsty Flaw, who you guys saw me do an interview with. We both did one about Blake Lively. ELS Rich is doing great coverage here, and right now she is doing the Lord's work, and you guys, not all heroes wear capes. So she unearthed this interview with Blake Lively talking about a simple favor, where she talks about grabbing her co-star's nuts. Why is this important? First of all, she and Paul Feig joke about how they wanted her to do it rougher, and then she has a pretty salient soundbite where she goes, "Nice to meet you." That's ELS Rich. "Nice to meet you. Can I grab your nuts?" And I thought, well, isn't that special? What if the genders were reversed? What if this was It Ends With Us and some man that you just met walked up to you and goes, "Can I grab your boobs?" or "Can I grab your crotch?" Like, we would all be up in arms, right? But somehow it's like super funny when Plantation Barbie says it. So I just have to say there is a flagrant double standard when it comes to Miss Reynolds, and I'm not here for it. I'm not here for it when we're suing for SA or SH and we're accusing Baldoni of being a creep. When we have sound bites like this, thank you again, ELS Rich. Guys, give her a follow. I can't say my flappers are gasted anymore, but once again, they're gasted. You guys, poof. Justin, put this to bed. Let's go.
I mean, that is SH, like on a different level. Hi, and welcome to Blossom Talk. I'm Ashley Flo, and here on my channel I talk about my good and bad experiences in Hollywood and working as an entertainment reporter. Just a reminder before I start this episode, if you haven't subscribed yet, it really helps my channel if you do, so hit that notification bell as well so you don't miss an episode, and also check if you have been unsubscribed, because it has happened to a lot of people apparently. Anyways, I have so much stuff to go through today. Thanks to all those amazing internet sleuths out there. One of them is Elsie. Elsrich is her name on Instagram and here on YouTube. And I had her on my channel last week because she keeps finding all these old recordings and stuff from the past that keeps now haunting Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. But this little clip is pretty outrageous. So this is a clip that she found. I think it was from the director's cut of A Simple Favor, the movie that came out in 2018. It was the first one of the two of them. The second one just came out, you probably remember that, in March, when Blake Lively was attending the premiere. Anyway, so Henry Golding, this was like his second film in Hollywood, because I remember I interviewed him for Crazy Rich Asian, which was his first big movie, and I interviewed him just like a few weeks later, I think, for this film. Anyway, so Henry Golding was fresh off the boat, basically, in Hollywood, and the way that Blake Lively describes how she improvised a scene with him in this clip that I'll play for you here, where she says that she grabbed his nuts, basically, and also how she wanted to grab them harder, not because she wanted to, but because she felt like her character would do that. Thank you, Elsie, again, for finding that clip. That is pretty outrageous. And I think it's especially outrageous because considering what Blake Lively is accusing Justin Baldoni of. You know, she even mentioned in her lawsuit it was a big thing that he smelled her hair and said she looked good. Well, she grabs her co-star's nuts. I mean, that is SH, like on a different level, if you ask me. And the fact that, you know, Henry Golding had to kind of just nice guy. And I think when you're so fresh off the boat here, you are just like doing whatever people tell you. Considering what Blake Lively is accusing Baldoni of, this is just insane, if you ask me. I mean, I wonder how much stuff like this. I remember my interview with Henry Golding so well because he was so sweet, and he told me that, you know, this was kind of his first big.
Blake Lively grabbed her co-star's nuts in A Simple Favor. Shout out to one of my followers who tagged me in this video, but this is just wild. She was like improvising and did the scene, and then her and the director were talking about it, and he was like, "Yeah, could you actually do it harder?" It's funny, she hated the idea of improvising and always needing an intimacy coordinator for It Ends With Us, but when she wants to do it, it seems like it's fine. I do think that having all these clips come out, like the one of Ryan and their kid saying the inappropriate stuff, you know, the other interviews with Blake, like these are all clearly being found by people online that are just going back through old Blake interviews. And it's just showing that, yeah, like I don't think Justin's team was out here planting these old interviews that made her look bad. It's just people on the internet digging through it. And thank you guys for tagging me in them. Like, I really appreciate it. But nails in the coffin, Blake. We all see you.
Says that she actually spoke to The Atlantic. I sent them a long email telling them I didn't want to be involved because I believe their angle is going to be to criticize creators that are misogynistic. So the Daily Mail put out a spread this weekend, and Blake's response to it just was wild. So they did a full spread on the newspaper, and it says, "My encounter from hell with Blake Lively. What she said was so mean and snarky. Now 20 people have told me their encounters, and I think I know why she acts this way." So this is all from sort of like Shesti's point of view. She shares this video, and everyone sort of tells her, like, other people come forward and say things to her. And I actually spoke to someone that works in crisis PR that has not met Blake, but obviously has so many connections. And she had a friend that worked on the set of Gossip Girl who basically said that Blake had an air of entitlement. Her mom and her were just like absolute nightmares, apparently, and demanding, and just they expected everything to be a certain way. They were very not the nicest people, hard to deal with. And Blake grew up around a mother that acted like that on sets. And so the crisis manager said, or the crisis PR person said to me, that they believe that a lot of Blake and her modeling is watching how her mom treated people, which apparently was terrible. And I don't know if that's the case, but it would appear that Blake has a sense of entitlement. And she doesn't like people that she perceives as less than her. And she and Ryan both believe that because they're like these hot stars, that everyone should be very much viewing them as celebrities. And if you're not on their level, why would she interact with you? If you can't give her something or don't benefit her, what would she need from you, right? And Shesti was talking to the Daily Mail and sharing all of these like people that had come to her and come forward. And, you know, everyone that has an interaction with her will have a different opinion, obviously. But I think what's resonated with me with Shesti's story is that Blake has an opportunity when she sees this article, sees this video, and she immediately accuses Shesti of working for Mr. Baldoni, which she's not. And she believes that all of this vitriol is because of Baldoni. To this day, I sincerely believe that Blake is this disconnected from like anything going on in her life that she would ever believe that she's the cause. I don't know if it's her narcissism that's not allowing her to deal with the reality that she's a crappy person, or if it's just easier to deflect onto someone else so that she doesn't have to take responsibility for her own behavior, or if she's just so used to treating people like crap that they should just deal with it. I think when I saw Shesti's story the first time, I was like, this to me is like all I need to know about the legitimacy of these claims. Because if she believes that Shesti was doing this to her when she wasn't, or other TikTokers or other content creators are doing this for Baldoni and they're not, if she truly doesn't recognize that people have a valid criticism of her, then that means everything in this complaint cannot be trusted. I don't necessarily agree with some of the ways that Baldoni and Blake communicated, quite honestly. I think there was a very hazy boundary of, I don't really know what was going on there. It seemed a little bit too comfortable. And it could have been him having to acquiesce to her demands by going to her house and having to run lines with her and, you know, talking to her and rehearsing late into the night and whatever that is. But at the same time, when you spend time alone with Blake, I feel like it's going to invite chaos because she has this ability to transpose people's feelings about her into things that haven't happened. And then so does her husband, Ryan. So anyways, this long story short, this article goes out on the Daily Mail and it's all about Chesti's experience, right? And instead of Blake recognizing that her comments to Shesty were actually super hurtful, because one, it's like she's fat shaming me, and then she's rude to me for the next 4 minutes. She's not answering my questions. She won't look in my eyes. Why is she doing this to me? It made her feel like she wanted to quit her job, that she didn't think she was good enough. And then she's mentioned in Blake's lawsuit, and the New York Times posts her video as evidence and proof that Shesty is part of the smear campaign when she's not. And instead of Blake acknowledging that they got this part wrong, there's been no apology.
Is the Blake and Justin Baldoni drama a movie we've all seen before? Like, literally? This theory was posted in the forums, and it is very believable and very interesting. This user posted Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni drama, but what if I told you this happened before on another movie set? Which also explains where the Game of Thrones text originates from. They go on to write, this is wild. On the set of Age of Adeline, the same rumors were coming out about Ryan Reynolds being jealous and showing up on her movie set unexpectedly. Just like he did on the set of It Ends With Us. He didn't trust Blake with her co-star Mikhail Houseman, who also happens to be the spitting image of Justin Baldoni. Literally, like they pass as brothers. And here's some example of the press back then. This article, Ryan Reynolds fears Blake Lively cheating with Age of Adeline co-star. And here, Blake gets a visit from husband Ryan Reynolds on set. They go on to write, this is where it gets interesting. Mikhail's an actor on the hit show Game of Thrones. Sounds familiar? And what character, you might ask, does he play? Well, he happens to play Khaleesi's lover in the show. This finally started making sense to me because I thought that Khaleesi text just came out of nowhere. However, Ryan loves doing double entendres when insulting other people. He thinks he's clever like that. We've all seen him do that already, you know, with the whole nice pool. And yes, you can see him there in Game of Thrones with Khaleesi. So the user is saying that maybe this is where the whole, like, Blake being Khaleesi stems from. I've always thought Ryan wrote the text, not Blake. The user goes on to write that the text message that Ryan had sent to Justin Baldoni thanking him had similar phrasing as the text message that Blake Lively allegedly texted to Justin Baldoni saying she's Khaleesi. In Ryan's text to Justin Baldoni, he had written, "Thank you for understanding what it means to me personally to have my family reunited as soon as possible. I can promise you we're hardwired for keeping our family together." The Khaleesi text from Blake to Justin Baldoni, she writes, "For better, for worse, but usually for better because my dragons also protect those I fight for. Really, we all benefit from those gorgeous monsters of mine. You will too, I can promise you." This is crazy jealous behavior that has been a pattern for him for years, but I think that when he saw Blake with an identical looking actor being smitten with him, he went nuclear. Not only would he attack Justin, but also take the movie away. His power has grown tremendously over the years in Hollywood, but it's sad that he's petty, clearly holds onto grudges, attacks people for his own insecurities. This is very interesting that the interview mentions Ryan Reynolds' tweet that mentioned Mikhail and Blake's chemistry.
I saw Ryan Reynolds, her husband, actually tweeted that
Yes.
somebody said you guys had great chemistry, and he's like, hey, I'm right here. Watch it, buddy.
Yeah, I saw that too. I thought it was a very cool response.
Back then, some articles read, according to a recent report, Ryan is acting very possessive of Blake, following her everywhere she goes, including the Vancouver set of Age of Adeline. A source explains to OK Magazine she's been doing night shoots and Ryan keeps showing up, which infuriates her. He appears to be worried about Blake's relationship with her hunky co-star Mikhail Houseman. So apparently Justin Baldoni looking like Mikhail Houseman could have been the thing that started this all.
Don't forget the Stephanie Jones PR lawsuit that is happening. I think it's actually the most important piece of this entire pie because don't forget it was her, Stephanie Jones, who purportedly gave Blake and Ryan all of that ammo to try to assassinate the character of Justin Baldoni and take down Wayfarer. That was how they got the emails and the text messages. And this is now going, it's kind of heating up in the courtroom. As a refresher, who is Stephanie Jones? Okay, Stephanie Jones was the It PR girl in Hollywood. She runs Stephanie Jones PR. She has run that for about a decade, and she really is your stereotypical early 2000s devil wears Prada type, I just drink coffee and take Adderall and don't eat, I don't need food to survive type woman. You know, the early 2000s Rachel Zoe, Paris Hilton, Nicole Richie prototype, people, you know, who call the paparazzi when people recognize that they don't eat. they call the paparazzi and they share a slice of cake to dispel the rumors they have an eating disorder. That's kind of like the Stephanie Jones prototype, I would say. So it's known in Hollywood, just like you don't cross Ari Emanuel, you don't cross Steph. You don't cross Steph at all in Hollywood because Steph will ruin you. She will destroy you. So she has, or I should say she had, we'll get to that in a little bit, an A-list clientele book. Her firm repped everyone from Dwayne Johnson to Tom Brady to Jeff Bezos, Lauren Sanchez. I mean, the tippity top, right? And beneath her, just to bring up that chart, because this is very important, was Jennifer Abel. Jennifer Abel was working at Stephanie Jones Work PR, it's Jones Work PR, and they had Justin Baldoni, Wayfarer students, as their client. And they were very happy to have them as a client. Now, to be clear, Stephanie Jones did not work with this account directly because she only handled the big accounts. She's hanging out with Jeff Bezos. She's hanging out with Lauren Sanchez. She would send the smaller accounts down to people like Jennifer Abel. And she sent the Wayfarer account down to Jennifer Abel. And when I say smaller accounts, I mean that according to the lawsuits, they were paying $20,000 a month to be repped by Jones Work PR. Like, I need to get into PR work. This is amazing. $20,000 a month as a small account, but they weren't A-list enough for Stephanie to personally manage them. And so to remind you of just how powerful Steph is, she's doubly powerful because she's also married into power. Her husband, just to show you, this is Jason Hodes. He is a senior partner at WME who reps Tom Brady. So if you angered Steph in any capacity, you could potentially lose any opportunity to work with the biggest artist agency in the world. That's why another reason nobody messed with her. Well, in May of 2024, last year, so in the months leading up to the It Ends With Us premiere, Stephanie Jones actually began going through a PR crisis of her own because Puck News and Business Insider reported that her A-list clients were beginning to walk due to her erratic behavior. She lost Dwayne Johnson. She lost Lauren Sanchez. They both dropped her. Also, there was a website that came together and an anonymous Twitter feed that was clearly put together by a former employee, disgruntled employees, about her treatment of them over the years. Because like I said, she's early 2000s Devil Wears Prada type. So she was quite mean and kind of took pride in that. And what was running at the same time was that Jennifer Abel, who was handling the Wayfarer account, tendered her resignation on July 10th. And she gave Stephanie 6 weeks. She was scheduled to leave on in early August, on August 23rd. But then 2 days before she was supposed to leave, Stephanie Jones calls her into her office. Okay. She says, okay, Jennifer, I know you're supposed to leave in 2 days. Your 6 weeks is almost up, but surprise, I'm forcing you to hand over your phone. She had security present. She had this is according to the lawsuit, a forensic data extraction technical expert present. She had an attorney, and she had the PR firm's chief of staff who flew in unannounced from New York for the occasion. So you imagine you're leaving a job. People are crazy. Just let people leave the job, you know? But I think Steph's a little paranoid because she's losing her clients. Articles are being written about her, and she just wants to, maybe she thinks Jennifer Abel's behind it all. And so she gets all of this stuff, and that is how she then handed it over, I'm guessing, to Leslie Sloan PR, who reps Blake and Ryan. And that is how they received these communications that would eventually be doctored for that New York Times piece. So she's very crucial to this. And it's also being a lot of rumblings is that she's also just recently lost Tom Brady as a client, that it hasn't yet, they're working on like an exit strategy. I don't know if it's true, but there are rumblings that Tom Brady's on his way out too. And a lot of this is going to come out via this lawsuit. But I would watch the Stephanie PR one because she might be the linchpin to how all of this went down. Anyways, she believes they secretly conspired to undermine her reputation. And honestly, at the core of all of these lawsuits is just tremendous Hollywood ego. It's just so much Hollywood ego that is happening. And I feel like 2025 is the year where all of these egotistical maniacs are just being outed for what they are. Like, that world is sort of dying, and it's just glorious to watch.
You guys, this headline is wild. Let's talk about it. So People magazine just did this article earlier today about a new documentary that's coming out on Max that is apparently about this case. It hasn't even dropped yet. I think it comes out in half an hour California time, 5 p.m. California time today, March 31st. This is previewing the documentary. So apparently they had a chance to see it. And the headline makes it seem like there's this like huge flaw from the Baldoni team that they can't overcome. So I went through it and I read the article, and I'm just not sure even the headline matches what they're alleging is said by the lawyers in the docuseries. There is apparently 2 attorneys that they cite to that I looked them up. They're not even California employment lawyers. They're California lawyers, but not employment lawyers. And they're just saying that in their opinion, they don't think the case is as strong because one of them said, he doesn't flat out deny everything that's happened, just argues that there's more context. Well, context is everything in a hostile work environment claim. Context is the entire case, frankly. I mean, this is not a quid pro quo case, as we've discussed. This is a hostile work environment claim. So how it was felt objectively, subjectively, and by other people, witnessed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that all matters. So this just tells me that they didn't go and find an employment attorney to opine on this. And I think it's a little bit weird to create such a sensational headline out of one attorney's opinion that the maybe one party's case is stronger than the other. The reason why I think this is pretty important to talk about is that I read through some of the comments, and there's some people that are saying like, oh, he needs a new representation. He needs representation. Based off of a headline, basically, claiming that the lawyers are not doing justice to Justin in this case. And I just think that that's really dangerous. I think it's perfectly okay for a lawyer, many lawyers, several lawyers to, in their professional capacity, to think that one party or the other has a stronger case. But I think headlines like this are really not helpful for everyday people to understand what's going on. And I just urge everyone to look past some of the sensationalism that's in the media covering anything really, but especially over a case, and look to the facts yourselves, and also wait, because there's still a lot that will need to be uncovered. One last thing, it says potential flaw. Nowhere in the article does it actually talk about the, quote, potential flaw of the case. I didn't see one, at least not from a legal perspective. Anyway, I'm definitely going to watch this, and I will let you know my thoughts.
I don't think California law applies to these particular claims. Let's get it out of California. We got to get away from this 47.1. That's the first thing. And then secondly, I think you have to say, well, wait a minute. We did make allegations that there was malice. And we did make allegations that Lively did not have a reasonable basis to bring an SH claim. Or if we didn't make those allegations well enough, then let us do an amended complaint. We'll do a second amended complaint, and we'll clean that up, and we'll say more things about that.
Yeah, that's right. And also the issues of whether she was reasonable to bring this or whether there was malice. I do believe that is a determination of the jury, because that's a finding of fact. And so, again, this is a 12B6 motion. It's to dismiss the lawsuit even before you get in front of a jury. And by the way, there's more paperwork to come. There'll be motions for summary judgment down the road after depositions and discovery are completed. But right now, we're just at 12B6. And so what they want to do at all costs, if you're Baldoni, you want to get past this phase. Because if you get past this phase, you're getting closer to that jury trial.